We'll now move on to our meeting, and we start our meetings by offering you the opportunity to engage your council. If anybody would like to come forward, speak to the council, you're more than welcome to do so. All we'd ask is that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and then just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and council members. Jeff Barth. I'm going to speak partially as County Commissioner, but partially as Jeff Barth. And I was also going to speak on item number 15, and I was going to catch my breath in between. But I come before you right now to talk about the Van Eps Park situation. And first, let me thank you for your efforts in helping us there and building that fence. And honestly, the number of issues for our county employees have gone way down since that fence was put in. So again, I thank you very much. I think the fact that there's been a delay in the an instant reaction of banning alcohol in the park, the fact we had to wait for the park board to act, the fact that we are looking at amending the stuff so we can act faster in the future, I think has given us time to reflect. And I truly believe that that park is the appropriate place for people to stay living as they are. It's the best alternative I can think of. There are no families living right on it. There's no playground there. It's really a pretty secure location. And I think with this fence and perhaps with some other changes, it could even be better. I think, though, it does draw our attention also to the issues of mental illness, alcohol abuse, drug abuse that we have in our community, and our failure not just as a county or a city, but actually the whole state in addressing those issues. The number one place to go get drug or alcohol treatment, it's the jail. And they're not very good at doing it. Down in Yankton, they have 26 beds for substance abuse people and for the whole state. People go down there, they're down there for 5 or 6 days, they're brought back and released back on the street with a fistful of pills and a hearty handshake, and someone expects them to make their doctor's appointment next week and straighten out their whole lives, which have been a mess for 45 years, or in my case, 62 years. I know that you all know, I feel that additional money from additional taxes on alcohol is the right place to get some of the resources needed. You know, you walk into the bar, you've got money, but you walk into court and you've got no money. That's been our experience at the county. I think we can do better. I really appreciate, again, the work that the city has done. Our complaints from our county employees have dropped way off, and I think, you know, with a few more tweaks, it might even become a safer location than it is today. And again, I thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Barth, thank you for your service as well. We appreciate it, and your comments. Would anybody else like to engage the council? Welcome.
Theresa Stehly, Sioux Falls. First of all, I wanted to say thanks to the council members who came to our Neighborhood Watch picnic last week. Rick Kiley came, Michelle Erpenbach, Kermit Stager stopped by, Kenny Anderson, Rex Rolfing, and Dean Karski. Thank you. I know it was kind of a hardship because it's the same night as the meeting, but you came over, and I just think this is a fabulous program for our city. And Greg called and said he couldn't come, so thank you for that, Greg. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I'm here to talk about is the boulevard issue. And a lot of people in our community are not aware that this is something that came up last month. And I personally think it's very important. We've got people out here in our city who have rocks. We have people who have some vegetables. We've got people like myself who planted it with perennials. And it came up, and then it kind of disappeared. And I've had conversations with you, and I wanted to talk about the council members I've talked with. Christine Erickson has called me back, thank you. Dean Karski has been very good about calling me back. Kenny Anderson, thank you so much. Actually, Michelle Erpenbach, a big thanks, and Greg, you came by my house to look at the flowers. Thank you. This is a good issue. Important, and these people have been very friendly. You have been kind to me and respectful. There is one elected official, and I forgive you, who treated me with anger, disrespect, and hostility. And we have a right as citizens to express how we feel. And you may not agree with us, but we still have a right to be respected. And so I forgive you for that. As we move forward, I would hope that you're going to have an open mind. We don't need to have one size fits all for these boulevards. St. Paul, Minnesota it's called Beautiful St. Paul. Beautify the boulevards. I'm all for saying that we have to have safety. So if something has a sight hindrance, that's fine, we cut it down. I think it needs to be maintained. But if my neighbor has a boulder in their boulevard, that is no skin off my nose. We have to have an attitude of live and let live in our community. And we've got a diverse group of people moving in, and so as we grow, I think we need to be expanding. And I'm happy to say for most of the council members I've talked with, they've been very open to saying, yes, this is a good thing, we want to go for this. But I will say that I've talked with the Public Works Department, I've talked with the mayor's office, I've talked with city council members. I'm getting different opinions from each group. And some people are saying this is dead, it's killed. Some people are saying there's going to be a task force. Some people have said it's going to happen again in October. Some people are saying it's going to be 2015. So I think we need to get on the same page and give the public a clear understanding of where we're going with this thing. And some people have said that you can have 36 inches of flowers and vegetables. Some people have said it's only 8 inches in the boulevard. So there's miscommunication happening. And as we get together with one idea or one plan of action, I would appreciate it if you'd let me know. I will let the people know who have been contacting me, and then we can go forth and hopefully have something that's going to be very beneficial for all the citizens. So that's what I had to say tonight. Thanks.
Would anybody else want to address the city council tonight? Welcome.
Good evening, Robert Colby. Since I usually get involved with a little bit of history and I see that there's a lot of things going on between the city and the county, to give you a little background, you probably don't know or don't remember or are not aware that about 40 years ago, the city, when it came to the end of its yearly budget, would borrow money from the county to make it through its budget cycle. When I first went on the county commission, the budget was about $12 million, and when I left, it was about $65 million. The city, in the course of that time, they registered their complaints. They needed some more funding, and they went to the legislature. They got a 1-cent sales tax. They got a second penny sales tax, and creatively, they have worked that so that they are now a fat hog in the cornfield, as it were. Now, with that in mind, the county's basic problem for its dilemma is that they assess property and they collect the money, and everybody thinks the county gets the money, which they do not, because approximately 75% of all the money collected for sales tax, for the property tax, goes to the schools. Now, how many of you remember the personal property tax? Okay, that was the liar's tax. When they rescinded that, when the legislature took it out, they gave the county $500,000 to replace that money. The county stuck and stayed with it. There was no escalator clause because the population grew, the prosperity of the county grew, and it stayed at $500,000. And finally they said, we could really use that $500,000, and they took that back. So $500,000 was lopped out of the county's monies that they could use for their budget. And then after that, they chose to freeze the property tax and mill levies. That did another nice job on them. The city and the county at one time were very level because they had about the same amount of property tax money coming to them, but the school was the lion's share of it. The city then came up with the sales tax. The legislature at one time had one of your city councilors After he was defeated here, he went to the legislature, and his succinct comment was, all you county commissioners ever do is whine. That particular, now former legislature, is a county commissioner, and it seems that he is stuck with whining. Now, the property tax from Minnehaha County that they get, that provides about 50% of their budget. There's over 50% of their budget goes to law enforcement. People forget the county is the state's law enforcement agency. All laws get enforced by the county in one way, shape, or form. Whether it's the sheriff or whether it's the state's attorney, they are the ones that enforce the laws. Many of the laws are given to the counties to do, or to enforce, but there's no monies behind it. It's unfunded mandates. We used to get inheritance tax. 25% of the people in South Dakota, when they passed away, might be subject to the inheritance tax. Former legislator and now counselor Kermit Staggers called it the death tax because people died and they had to pay a tax. Well, it wasn't everybody that died that paid the tax. 5% of the people may have, and 80% of that money left the state, never to come back again. Well, a true death tax is getting your obituary published in the Argus Leader. We now have the bank franchise tax, which the county used to have 100% of. But the legislature looked at it and said, ooh, that's too much money for you. We're going to cap you. We're going to get the rest. The state has also done the same thing with the Deadwood monies that go to the historic preservation there. They said, oh, you only get so much money. The rest of that we're going to take above that, and we're going to use that. So I would be aware, if I were a city councilor, that the state might say, you know, your sales tax is bringing in too much money. We're going to cap you at a certain level in regards to your population, and we're going to take the West. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is that the county, though we are growing, or the county is growing every time the city grows, and that there are unforeseen circumstances every time you hire policemen in this community that expands the need for law enforcement. And it would be nice if the city of Sioux Falls would go to bat and try to help the county find some kind of escalating funding for themselves, something that grows geometrically instead of just arithmetically. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Would anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome. And folks, if there's anybody after this person, if you just come up, get ready, we'd appreciate that. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. My name is April Smith, and I'm here in Sioux Falls. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for your service and your time today. I want to start by making an observation. Public transit is not fun. It's flashy or something that gets anyone's heart racing or pulse pounding. It is not a sexy subject. It is a necessary and vital public service, though. It is also perhaps the one thing that really truly connects the city to itself. For a lot of people, it is a safety net, the one thing that allows them to have any sense of self-reliance, of community and connection with their fellow citizens. It is the means to a job, perhaps the only income that sustains a family, the only sense of self-reliance and dignity left to a person. It is the ability to get to and from doctor's appointments, to see family, to shop for food, and be engaged in this life. I've been listening to different conversations on this topic, full of facts, figures, comparisons, and statistics. I don't believe these are the right conversations, though. We keep treating our transit system as a line item, a cost, a drain on our resources. What if we acknowledged a different conversation? What if instead of a liability, we treat our transit system as an asset? An underutilized and somewhat hidden asset, perhaps, but one of really significant value to this community. How do we do this? How do we remove the stigma attached to this vital service? How do we illustrate its importance and its value to our community? How do we move our people from cars to buses? How do we illustrate the financial boost this would give to our many citizens on fixed incomes and limited budgets? How do we advertise and illuminate the environmental benefits, the benefit this would be for congestion in our streets and the safety of our pedestrians, our cyclists, and our families? How do we make the public aware and receptive to the increased use and utilization of this valuable resource available to our community? How do we get the people here today in this room together with our Chamber of Commerce? The businesses and people that benefit both physically and financially from a mobile, connected population of workers and customers. How do we include downtown Sioux Falls, which is home to and tangibly benefits directly from the centralized location of our buses? They give easy access to all the beauty and services that our thriving downtown has to offer. How do we make our transit system a valued as well as infinitely valuable, well-utilized resource? No longer the drain that we currently treat it as. How do we make this a lively, intelligent, and spirited conversation among our business community, our governing body, our downtown, and the citizens who use or should be using this community resource? This is the conversation I feel we should be having. Thank you all for your time and your service.
Thank you, April. Appreciate it. Folks, if there's an item coming up, it's item 15. It'll be on the Transit Task Force. What we'd ask is that if you've got comments related to that topic, that you'd wait until we get to that agenda item. We'd appreciate that. There'll be plenty of opportunity. And then also, this is a forum where we don't clap, we don't cheer, we don't boo. We just try to be as respectful as we can to the folks that are speaking, whether we agree with them or not. Would anybody else want to engage the council on a topic that's not on the agenda? Well, very good. Thanks so much for your comments. We appreciate it. Let's now move on